have that uniform the fee structures. Thank you.
Cecil Anthony from NS College campus in West Bengal. Looking at this topic for contributing higher technical education in India to global standards, I have three key issues to put across to this eminent board. The first and foremost is what we've been, many of us have been talking about, is about regulations. You have the input into the system which is regulated. So you talk about the student who comes in, that has got defined through an entrance examination or a process. You define at what price point the student should get in. Then you define that what is the entire infrastructure which is required. So square feet of classroom, number of labs, corridor space, library space, number of computers. You define all that. And then when you put in all these definitions into place, what is left with the so-called Edupreneur system is just to look at the teaching ability being given and to scan the market in terms of placeability. These are the only two things which maybe an Edupreneur in a practical position today can look at. Now, if you have to define everything around, can we look at re-looking at some of these definitions? You look at classrooms, you know, if you have a BTech 1 batch of say electrical 60 students, you define you require 4 classrooms. In practicality, what happens is the theory is in one session, one half, practical is in the other half. So a particular lab lies vacant for one half and a particular same classroom remains vacant for the other half. So can we keep on sweating this asset much better so that we can bring down the cost of this? Then you look at the norms you've defined for faculties. I'll take an example of say hotel management. AICT started M.Tech programs, Masters in Hotel Management 2 years back. So when you started Masters 2 years back, you don't expect PhDs to be there in the market. But the regulation says that to be a professor, he has to be a PhD. To be an assistant professor, he has to be so and so. So where do you won't get these people then. So you're trying to define things which are absolutely impossible to achieve. And the third thing is, see, if you look at education, education is divided into, I would say, two broad segments today, formal and non-formal. On one side, you have formal education, which is highly regulated, too many multiple agencies trying to define too many things. On the other side, you've got formal education, where you have so many formal, non-formal companies, like the NIITs, the AppTechs, the fashion technology institutes, the center learning centers, vocational training centers. Now, most of these people are able to churn, the Frankfurt institutes. Most of these institutes are able to churn out a lot more people and more employable in nature. Is it because they don't have so many regulations? Is it because there's no body which is looking after them? Is it because they have got far too much independence to look at in terms of what should an edupreneur be contributing? Very frankly, when I look at this topic today, many of us in this room, we are actually acting as financiers to higher education, not as entrepreneurs. Because everything else is defined. So, and that too, we take the risk of that finance. We are not like a bank that you have a guaranteed return coming in. You have, if you default, there is other asset which could be taken. So we are purely acting as financiers to a social cause. Now at the same time, let us look at another social activity called health. How many regulations are there in health? If you look at a hospital, is the salary of the doctor defined? Is the salary of the nurse defined there? Is the pricing point at the entry of the patient defined? So you have hospitals in rural areas, you have hospitals in metro cities, you have 4 lakh, 5 lakh cardiac surgery cost to even 60,000. Isn't it the market which is defining that? So does higher technical education need to be so regulated? I think that's the most important thing to be addressed if India has to reach to global standards. We have to look at this faculty definitions if you have to reach a global standard, and we have to understand what is the reality on the ground today. So can we relax the norms? Can we ask more people from the industry who have got industry experience who can join academics by relaxing the norms? And the third and the most important is what many of us have contributed and the policy makers have contributed. See, 40 years back, we had a nice pyramid on education in India. The ITI layers, the diploma, and the higher education institutes. In the last 30, 40 years, many of us who got into this higher education activity, we have reversed that pyramid. And some of us rightly said, we actually require skilled ITIs and diploma holders rather than engineers for many of the jobs. So can the policy look at putting that pyramid more back into place rather than trying to look at, the engineering institutes are not great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. I represent Dr. B.C. Roy Engineering College, Durgapur. I have two fundamental questions to raise. Number one, education is supposed to be in the concurrent list of the Constitution. And number two, if there are agencies like AICTE, UGC and others, should they be regulatory or should they be mentors? And finally, when Mr. Kapil Sibal became the Minister of HRD, he advised, or rather he persuaded AICTE to take everything online. There will be no investigation if an entrepreneur wants to build up a college. Only a deficiency report in terms of the AICTE standards and the college facilities will be sent back to the college to rectify. Is that a measure to today's state that 90% of the colleges are less than adequate as per the chairman? Thank you so much.
I think absolutely very relevant. See, there are lots of restrictions. I think first we have to understand that particular problem. Secondly, what is more important is any educator, for that matter, whether government, private, anyone, that commitment to education is more important, honesty and integrity. That because of the circumstances, if we have less faculty, we must empower our students in the best possible manner so that their education is at the same par level as that of the best of the institutes. For that, today, technology-enabled learning is possible, whether it is NPTEL lectures from IITs which are available online, there is MIT courseware available, Stanford courseware is available. I think some of the faculty members who can sit in the class and the classes can run there on a video-based lectures, and then faculty can do mentoring, facilitating the students, and with less faculty also we must be able to manage the show. Create excellent students out of that. That is the most important thing which we must understand, and therefore probably if little more freedom is given, I think output, today we are talking about a bit-based accreditation where outcome and output is going to be measured. That is more important, and if you really take it seriously, probably the graduates who are coming out, they may be evaluated, and then the good quality education, which is bad quality education, can be probably defined. I think I fully agree with you that some of these things we need to understand. The second one is about the pyramid. I think this country, unfortunately, doesn't respect dignity of labor, unfortunate part. Therefore, if a student goes to an ITI and starts working in a factory on a shop floor, he is looked down upon compared to a person who is supervising a diploma engineer, and someone white-collar job sitting in an office in an air-conditioned space, he is given more respect. And unfortunately, that's why every ITI fellow wants to become diploma to an engineer, and the pyramid has lost its significance. And if you infuse that particular dignity of labor, a person who is doing shop floor job is as important as someone sitting and designing a machine in an AC environment. They are both equal in terms of salaries and all that. I think many important things can happen. And I don't know about health regulation in terms of, we are talking about hospitals actually. But when it comes to health education also, probably there also salaries are fixed. And it's not correct that there is a relaxation in terms of all those regulations in terms of
hospitals it is not.
Hospitals it is. Same way, industry also doesn't have regulation. I think that comparison doesn't sound correct actually in terms of education as far as that is concerned. And then something like concurrent list. This is another problem this country faces. Because education is on the concurrent list. If center wants to do some reform, there are hundreds of reasons why the particular state government will say we will not adopt that and we will not accept it. And I think this situation, I don't know why it was made certain category of things, in concurrent list, and which has been creating problems at times. And in terms of AICT, rather than regulator. In fact, it was both regulator and a fund giver also earlier. At least the two activities are now separated slightly, and accreditation is taken care of separately. But if they really become mentors or facilitators, I think that would be a great thing in this country.
Thanks a lot, sir. In fact, it's really heartening.